going really well. We've been blessed with great weather, great partners, great planning leading up to this. The planning that led into this process has basically set us up to where we're at today. Construction's on schedule, if not a little bit ahead. So, that just is an attribute to all the things that led the last couple years of the planning and process leading into this. When you have a good plan, naturally things tend to fall into place, and we haven't had any hiccups or question marks that have popped up, so things are going right away and right on schedule, if not a little bit ahead.
Now that the turf's going down, is it really starting to feel like it's really happening?
It is. It's pretty wild to get a better vantage point. So when you go up to the suite level or up on the roof and look down at the track, what was a track now has become a baseball field. And you can kind of see that process with the field starting with the stone and then naturally the walls going up and things of that nature. So the turf is like the shiny penny, it's the last piece of the puzzle that kind of really brings it to a field instead of just seeing stone down there.
What's been the biggest challenge so far?
It's been, again, going back to that planning process and what MLB and the teams that they brought in to really plan this thing. When you go through the planning process and you have a lot of conversations, it makes this process just so much easier. So there's not been any big hiccups, no big changes that have happened. The first week when we started putting stone down, we had torrential rains, but those rains have subsided, and we've had now the heat that's kind of came upon us. But you can work in heat, you can work in sunshine, and it keeps us from having all that. So there's not really been any big hiccups. It goes back to that, like I said, great planning, great teamwork that's been put together the last couple of years leading into this.
Turf's going down. What's the next big step?
So you'll see the turf naturally is going in as we see, and the next big step starting to build out the clubhouses and all the things that make the teams feel like they're back at a stadium. So, their weight rooms, the coaches' offices, those things will start progressing after the field. The field naturally took precedence in the construction process because that's the main piece. You can't do a game without the field, but all those other pieces will start falling into place now. So a lot of tents will go up, a lot of construction of the grandstands will continue, the press boxes, the things that really make it into that baseball stadium.
What are those things made out of? I'm just curious. Is
Which
it just
part?
stick-built stuff? I mean, how have y'all built this?
Yeah, naturally you've
modular?
seen a lot of scaffolding put up out there. That's not anything new to any industry in the entertainment side. There's a lot of different temporary grandstands that go up, but on top of those temporary grandstands, it will be stick-built, right? Naturally, that's the fastest, easiest way. It'll be 2x4 construction, plywood, things of that nature that meet code, but are easy to put up in a quick fashion. Yep.
You've talked before about the Bristol way. Talk about the advantages of having contractors and people who do good work here in the area.
That's the great part about this area. We've got contractors that have that can-do attitude, right? So no matter what you ask, they always know there's a deadline. They always know there's that race date or baseball game date that's coming. And trying to achieve that and be, ahead of it or to really over-promise or under-promise and over-exceed those expectations. And, we all exceed expectations. That's really a company motto. And that's our contractors. The contractors have been here. Luckily, the BAM team, the Brightview team, the MLB team that brought in, they were able to capture a lot of those contractors and work with them directly as well. And they're seeing that attitude. They're seeing that we'll take whatever we need to do to make that happen. And it just says a lot about this area and just how we are all hardworking people. We're in the mountains of northeast Tennessee, but naturally we all try to do things. And Bristol Motor Speedway, it means so much to this area that anytime there's a big event, everybody jumps in full-fledged, goes 100 miles an hour, and it's showing out here. That's why we're a little bit ahead of schedule, and everything's rolling like it should be.
How has this project been similar and different from the battle at Bristol?
This one was a little bit more, there's a lot more obstacles on this one than the Battle of Bristol. Naturally, the field at Battle of Bristol was in the center of the track, so there wasn't near as much demo, there wasn't near as many things that had to be removed to put in the football field. With the baseball field, we had to cut walls out, take half a building down, remove a lot of the mirror trim poles, completely wiring and all, whereas Battle of Bristol, we didn't have to do that. So that part leading into being prepped for them to start building the field was a lot different than the Battle of Bristol. And then naturally, we have about the same time frame after the Battle of Bristol to our first race to turn this back around from the baseball game to the first race. That's really when, hopefully that can-do attitude continues to shine through and those contractors are back in here putting this place back together so we have a NASCAR race.
Speaking of that, I guess, is there anything to be said about world's fastest half mile turning into baseball field, which is not exactly known for speed?
They've done a lot of things in baseball, right, with the pitcher's timing and all that, so they've built that up. It's always really awesome to see our company. Our company does a lot of first. The Smith family, definitely Marcus, Bruton, back in the day, we always try to do things that were new and innovative. This is definitely new and innovative. There's never been an MLB game played in the state of Tennessee, so having that capability of playing a baseball game in the last great Coliseum, And turning a racetrack into a baseball field just speaks volumes of what our company sees. And, MLB reached out to us. We didn't reach out to them. But they saw that the possibilities and what we do as a company and how well we do things as a company is a real attribute to the team that we have, right? And the events that we put on and how we can take things that are something that people would think is possible and turn them into possibilities. So pretty awesome. It's not many times, especially if you would have asked me 10 years ago in my career if I was going to go to a baseball field, probably would have said no. But here we are, and here in a few weeks we'll have a baseball game, and that really will be the icing on the cake when that first pitch is thrown, and hopefully somebody hits one over the wall.